Friday morning found Mrs. B rummaging for fruit among the leaves that engulfed two sides of her cottage, the passion fruit vine intertwined with bougainvillea and trumpet flowers, like a quilt sewn together by an old lady with a needle in one hand and a margarita in the other. When a thorn pricked her wrist, Mrs. B grumbled about her papery skin. Still, she appreciated the contrast of fragile beauty and piercing barbs. You took the sweet with the sharp, didn't you? She'd planted the first vines 40 years earlier, after her late, reckless, adoring husband had invested an undeserved windfall in the Marigold Cottages, a cluster of units a few blocks from State Street. They'd been built following a long-ago earthquake, and she liked to imagine her fairy circle of cottages sprouting from the rubble. There were 6 craftsman-style buildings with tiny front porches, shingled sides, and multi-paned windows. Mrs. B had painted them a matching sage green before she discovered that she was more drawn to diversity than uniformity. Now, walls of aubergine and gold, chalk blue and forest green, surrounded a drought-friendly, desert-scaped courtyard ornamented by oversized ceramic pots decorated with marigolds. She enjoyed how eclectic her vines were, too. She'd spent years coaxing them into a bright, raucous balance, more of a mediator than a gardener. And she was attempting the same with the tenants who rented the cottages. Nicholas lived in the biggest unit, with his secrets and his stilted heart. Then there was the overeager, off-kilter Hamilton, because who else would care for a middle-aged man afraid to leave his house? Beside him came the indomitable Lily Ann, who needed someone to love, and the wounded Sophie, who needed someone to protect. Ocean and her children rented the cottage beside Mrs. B's. Ocean was the daughter Mrs. B had dreamed of having before those dreams dimmed. And last was Anthony, with his criminal past and uncertain future. People were lovely. If you really talked to them, if you really listened, you couldn't help but notice. Of course, sometimes the loveliness was as well hidden as a passion fruit buried in leaf litter, because people weren't merely lovely, they were also broken. The world didn't produce unbroken people. Some people despaired of living in a flawed world, but the thought just made Mrs. B want to plant flowers and restock her little free library. Maybe she wasn't clever enough to feel the despair. She'd considered that. Only briefly, though. Who had time for self-doubt when there were hummingbirds to feed? When she finally found a ripe passion fruit, she almost laughed at its wrinkled skin. So familiar. The flawed, broken, if not wrinkled, people of the Marigold Cottages belonged to her, as surely as she belonged to them. And they needed her help, whether they knew it or not. They were as flawed and foolish as she was, but so young, so absolutely brimming with potential. So she'd ask for their help, and she'd show them how to help each other. That's what you did for the people you loved. And, of course, you protected them.